Don't you find villages boring? Don't you think that our big-nosed friends deserve better? Look at these tiny little houses they have to live in. It's unacceptable. For that reason, I decided to dedicate my entire hardcore series in the creation of an advanced villager civilization. Let's not rush though and take things from where we left them off. In the previous episode, I cut every single tree inside this 2000 by 2000 block square. It wasn't an easy task, but it sure was worth it. With trees out of my way, I can finally start with the capital city project. The capital city is going to be the biggest and most spectacular city of my civilization. The place I chose for its construction is this swamp. The reason behind my choice is that swamps are relatively flat, which is very helpful for the project. By the way, comment down below the name I should give to the city. Because they are not entirely flat though, the first step of this project is to completely flatten the place. Before I set off for the swamp, I copied the corresponding map pieces and brought them with me. I placed my stuff in this beach area as it was located in the middle of the swamp. Before starting the project, I bred 2 frogs. Unfortunately, curiosity took the best of me. After placing the map, I went back to my base in order to make a new shovel. The great digging had now begun. During my first night shift, a zombie villager called for my help. This was excellent news, as I cannot actively turn villagers into zombies and cure them. It is against the series rules. After a little more digging, I needed to make another shovel. Because my base villagers are really expensive, I decided to cure the zombie villagers and use them instead. First, I cured the zombie villager I found while recording the intro. I used the swamp waters and through a man-made canal I brought the villager into my new settlement. He was willing to take on his new job, but I accidentally slapped him with my axe during his expertise. I apologized and begged him to forgive me. In the meantime, I cured the other zombie villager and he offered me the Unbreaking 3 book trade in return. After a few trades, I went back to the first villager. This one gave me the Efficiency 4 trade despite our initial blunders. I could finally craft OP shovels for just 3 emeralds, 1 diamond and 2 sticks. I continued digging, but a new problem popped up. I would have to break a lot of stone and I had no beacon. At first, I ignored the problem just like I always do, but shortly after I began my beacon creation mission. Due to iron farms being banned by the rules as they involve villager abuse, I had to go mining. Mining took me a couple of hours, so let me sum up the most interesting stuff. I found an abandoned portal. I encountered a ghost creeper. I found a spider spawner, a zombie villager, another spider spawner, and another spider spawner. Come on Minecraft, there are more types of spawners in your game. And last, a gigantic iron vein that gave me over 6 stacks of iron. After returning to my base, I mined and smelted some of the iron. I think this will be more than enough. The wither skulls were next. I wasn't in the mood for an actual fight, so I used the good old enter portal trick. Apparently something went terribly wrong and all of a sudden I was in the mood for a fight. This is what happens when you don't check the tutorial and go by memory. Nonetheless, I defeated the Wither and went back to the digging site with a beacon this time. I tried to save a baby zombie villager, but Minecraft physics betrayed it. Hours of digging and trading ensued. I also made a new friend before I kept digging. Occasionally more zombie villagers would show up, just like this one. This villager became a farmer for some easy emeralds. I was lucky enough to get the pumpkin trade, so I built a pumpkin and a melon farm. I continued digging and trading and freeing imprisoned frogs and digging. I also trapped 2 Halloween zombies before curing a zombie villager I had caught in the previous episode. The new librarian was destined to sell me silk touch. Guess what was next? More digging. At least those skeleton horses broke the tediousness. More zombie villagers, more profit. At some point I did a raid, but my recording program didn't exactly work. For that reason, I am not going to use any of the totems for this episode. As if digging wasn't boring enough, an Enderman had to provoke me. Over 50 hours later, the swamp had been flattened. According to the statistics, I mined over 500,000 blocks. Time well spent. Also, take a look at all these tools I used. Just barely hanging between existence and nothingness. With the area flattened, the next step is to cover all the water sources. The deed is done. This step consumed 2/3 of the dirt I had dug previously. Let's see how the area turned out. It certainly looks strange, especially on the larger map. Now I will divide the entire area into 65 by 65 block plots with an 11 block gap between them. The gap will be made into a road network and the plots will be used for structures. Roads will be made out of ice, so I went to the nearby snow biome to gather some. Obviously in Minecraft boats will function as cars. Except for ice, I will need a ton of concrete, so I gathered the necessary materials for the creation of gravity block dupers. All colored ice included. Coincidentally, the stronghold is next to a desert, and I needed cacti for the green related colors. Every single colored concrete is here. The dupers are here. The chunk ladder is here. The storage room is here. Time to activate the machine and AFK. 3 double chests of items later and I was done for now at least. While I was traveling between the 2 nether portals, I killed some wither skeletons that were blocking my way and got 2 skulls from them. A very lucky moment indeed. After moving all the materials to the overworld, I wanted to see how much space I'm going to use for some of the projects. I did so by placing concrete pillars. Black for the government buildings, green for the park, and grey for the industrial area. I planted some trees inside the park, even though I am going to cut them later on. Despite the almost non-existent addition to the park, I did some work for the industry. First I built a storage unit, and then a lava collection machine. I will need buckets to collect lava, so I cured one of the zombie villagers and turned him into a fisherman. This way I can buy buckets for 1 emerald and get some fish in the process too. It isn't much, but industry will have its solo episode in the future. Next, I wanted to test the road infrastructure plan of the city. Basically, the plan is to divide the 11 block gap into 2 5 block wide lanes. Those 2 lanes will be additionally divided into 2 sub lanes of 2 blocks. Just like what you see in your screen right now. Because I will have to build a ton of things in future episode, I decided it was time to make an Enderman XP farm. I gathered a shulker box full of diamond shovels, a shulker box full of diamond pickaxes, a couple of shulker boxes filled with the necessary enchanted books, 2 shulker boxes with the materials needed for the farm, and I went on my way. I did not record any of the building process because I was just following a tutorial, but here is how it looked like before I left for the overworld. I had forgotten my sword had the fire aspect, so I needed to craft a new one. The sword was half done, so I went back to the end to finish the farm. I spent the next 2 hours killing endermen and breaking anvils. At least the end result was totally worth it. The end result, because the farm is located in the end. Good one, right? No? Okay. My joke may have been bad, but the endermen certainly had it worse. After acquiring my new set of tools, I raided some end cities in my hunt for shulkers. Cool fact! Did you know that if you are inside the water, levitation doesn't affect you? Just be careful with the knockback of the shulkers attacks. Ultimately, I had to go back because my bow was on life support. My loot haul was quite good though, can't complain. Now that I have both tools and shulker boxes for the job, it was time to dig the way for the roads. I was basically digging the same dirt I had placed a few weeks ago. The city had started taking shape, kind of. In order to fill in the gaps, I mined around 50 shulker boxes worth of ice. The grand ice placing had begun. Also look what I found. Thank you RNG gods. After placing the ice, I couldn't help but test the road system. The librarian really enjoyed the trip. He said that the roads are as smooth as butter. It was time to button up. I kept the design pretty much the same, except for the arrowheads that were replaced with pressure plates. If we had colored ice, this would be 10 times cooler. I can't do much about that though. Next, I had to move all my stuff as they don't really belong to the city. I had already planned to make an underground base in the place the government buildings will be constructed. You could say that I will operate like an underground government. While moving the beacon, my work was obstructed by caves filled with water. The only way to efficiently deal with water is sponges. Sponges are very rare, but luckily I knew a place that probably had a few to spare. The owners were a little grumpy, but I easily curbed their resistance. I managed to get half a stack of sponges, which isn't too bad or too good, but hopefully it will be enough for when I need it. I picked a layer that was as close to deep slate as possible and started digging. 75% of it was done when I had to make a visit to my Enderman farm. I was about to say that I feel bad for Enderman, but I really don't. The place had been dug out. Now, all I had to do is move everything and everyone 50 blocks underneath. It may have taken a while, but the job was done. I also built 3 very small automatic farms. For the few final steps of this episode, I smelted some stone in my industrial area. Using smooth stone slabs, I placed the pavement outside the park. Its enclosure was next. Looking pretty good, right? Now I needed to remove the stone layer and replace it with grass. While I was mining stone, I noticed another skeleton horse trap. This time no horses were killed, and because they were already inside the park, I decided to let them be. The park was now green, but it lacked any essence. So I added a lake. Cool tip number 2, ice can be used to efficiently create water sources. Next I paved some paths, planted a few trees, added some sand pits, grew some grass, moved those reptiles into their new home, and for the cherry on top, I bought some fish too. I think we are done with the park for now at least. After so many changes, I wanted to see how the map would turn out. Very good, I must say. Now let's plan the city together. Obviously, in the middle we've got the park. On the North Sea there's going to be a huge beach. Next to it there's going to be a small port. On the huge plot there's going to be government buildings. The main hospital will also be built close by. In the south, near the snow biome, there is going to be the industry complex. The rest of the plots could be anything: houses, shops, malls, hotels, etc. Before closing this video, let me write down all the different projects the city is going to need. Obviously, housing is #1 priority, next to safety. Food and maybe water as well. Establishing a government that offers public services for the villagers. Transportation, including roads, metro and possibly other means. Entertainment also plays a vital role. Shops, industry, army and public protection from villagers and monsters, ports, airports and railways for cross-country transportation, private companies, underground companies and organizations just like mine, hotels and skyscrapers. I could possibly build some holiday resorts too. Education, even though villagers don't really seem to need it. Sewers, redstone, the electricity of Minecraft, places for relaxation and adventure such as parks. Other cities and villages are also planned. Prisons and rehab centers. Hospitals and medical centers. These are a few of the things I will be doing in the future episodes. This episode though is coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed your time here because I spent a lot of hours for the creation of this video. If you did and you are looking forward for future episodes, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss out. You can also comment down below your in-game name and I will add you as a villager. Nonetheless, thanks for watching and I will be seeing you in the next video. Until then, goodbye and take care.